morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here with David, and we are looking forward to unpacking startup consciousness, failing faster. This week, the energy is really asking us to check our agenda. What are we so afraid of? What's blocking us from moving forward, from moving upward? And 9 times out of 10, if we're honest, the reason we're not moving forward, onward, and upward is because we're afraid of failing. And today we're going to understand what failure is according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, why we're so afraid of it, how to avoid it, and answer the question, is it really that bad to fail? Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where David and I, and sometimes our guests, share with our listeners the most powerful and practical wisdom and tools that the teachings of Kabbalah have to offer. What ends up happening is half hours or so of powerful and practical wisdom that you can use anytime. And this week is no different. The energy this week is really asking us to, in a way, asking us, what are you so afraid of? What's the big deal? Why is it so bad to fail? And it's a really good time for us to change, to shift, to better understand what is our relationship with failure and why are we so afraid of it? I know, David, you've spoken on previous episodes about failing faster, that idea that, try everything and go with what works. What does that mean in real life, not just when you have a product to sell or you're trying to push forward a project?
This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. And personally, I just had so much experience with doing things that don't work out. But I think one of the greatest blockages that people have is that they circle, like when the plane is circling, but they're not landing the plane. And there's so much fear around moving forward in life and doing it right and being judged and having failure that people hold back their potential in such a massive way because of this fear of failing. And one of the things I've learned in my own life is just to experience things as much as possible. Obviously, not recklessly. Obviously, not by breaking spiritual rules. But experience things, because what experience does, whether it works or it doesn't work, whether you win or fail, is it gives you certainty. And when you have certainty, this is the most powerful consciousness to have in life. This is armor. This is immunity. This is what manifestation is all about, is certainty. And the reason why people don't have certainty is because they don't try, they don't explore, they don't fail, they don't win. I see this with kids all the time. When they fall or they get their finger jammed in a door, and it's these things happen. All of a sudden, it registers in their mind what they have certainty about what is danger and what is safety. But before a child experiences pain or falling, they don't understand. They just don't know. It's in a state of potential. And many of us, the reason why we don't have certainty is because we're still in a state of potential. Why is experience so powerful? Everybody thinks they have a good idea of how to do something, but until you've done it, experienced it, seen what the details are, it's always much more complicated. Like, imagine building a house. Everybody thinks like, okay, building a house is straightforward, or building any kind of construction is straightforward. And here's the timeline, here's the budget, here are the materials, here are the people. But until you've actually gone through it and have a sensitivity and an inner sense for all the things that can go wrong, and most likely will go wrong, you will have delayed in that project. You will be 2 to 3 times delayed in the building of that project. So for all of us, to realize that one path to certainty is trying things, moving forward constantly. You have an idea, it's the right intention, but you're scared. Just do it. Just do it and adjust along the way. I love the analogy of sometimes it's okay to build the plane while it's flying in the air. And that is hard for people. People think, well, the plane can't take off until it's fully built. I love building planes in the air. It sounds dangerous. It sounds scary, but you're moving forward. You're moving forward.
Why do you think people are so afraid of failing? Why is it such a trigger for people?
Why are people afraid of failing?
I think it on a spiritual level, it goes back to the story of the Garden of Eden, of Adam and Eve. I think on a very unconscious level, we're all worried that we're going to miss the mark again. Kabbalah teaches that Adam and Eve are, in a way, a metaphor for all of humanity. And all of humanity had this test. There's one thing you can't do, don't do it. And humanity failed. So we all have, on a spiritual DNA level, this scar. God asked us to do one thing, and the one thing he asked us to do, we couldn't. Number two is that the memory of how it felt to fall short. I think that's really, if you ask somebody to indicate their failures, make a resume, a timeline of all the times they failed in their lives, most people don't have such a bad track record. So I often ask people, what are you so afraid of? People who meet me one-on-one, that's one of the most, probably the question I ask the most that really helps us get down to the core of things is, what are you really afraid of? And if you break down, if you can hack at the weeds of the story and the details and the excuses, you'll always find that at the core of that, there is this feeling, we failed, we messed up. I'm afraid to mess up again. I'm afraid to fail again. I'm afraid if I fail one more time, that'll be the end of me. And so I think on a conscious level, part of our work is to look at what are the real risks. What's the worst thing that could happen? And if we're honest with ourselves, it's not that bad most of the time.
There's definitely a cohort of people who are afraid of failing. But what most people don't know is that there is probably a greater population of people who are afraid of succeeding. People are afraid of manifesting. People
Why?
are afraid of having more. People
That's
are
so counterintuitive.
It's counterintuitive to what we think. But if you actually think of the level of self-sabotage that comes from people who make, and we know it's like spiritually, Kabbalah explains the concept of the bread of shame, that what we're most scared of is actually subconsciously on a soul level, is to develop bread of shame, which is the receiving of energy that hasn't been earned. And this is the concept we learned in Kabbalah 1, then class 7, that the soul came down to this world to earn the light. And it already had, in the endless, before the creation of our world, the soul had already received everything, felt the shame of receiving passively, and not working for it, not being a co-creator of that. So the soul's sole purpose is to come to this world and be a co-creator. So deep down inside, we're not so conscious of it, but our soul is. We are actually afraid to receive because it reminds us of the bread of shame that we had back in the endless, before the creation of this world. So why we say failing is so valuable, because every time you fail, you earn. Every time you push to do something for the right reason, with all the right intentions, but it doesn't work out, you earn. It's actually even better to fail than to succeed many times. So in our lives, we have to realize that it's about building the vessel for the energy. Building the vessel, but we're also focused on the energy. We're so focused on the thing that we want, on just clarity. People want clarity about situations. Clarity is energy. You want to receive clarity, you have to earn clarity. It's not about finding the right person who will tell you what you need to hear to be clear. Because even if you find the right person, they'll say the wrong thing to you if you don't have the vessel to receive it. So everything we do is to develop our own vessel spiritually. I'm thinking for myself, one of the windows in time that we talk about is the first day of Libra. It's called Rosh Hashanah. Most people consider it as a Jewish holiday, but we have to realize Rosh Hashanah is a window in time that every soul in this world receives the potential energy they need for the next 365 days. Every soul in this world. It's a 48-hour process that the gates are open to receive the destiny for the coming year. And of course, the destiny can change day to day based on our actions, but that's the starting point. And if there's ever something to prepare a vessel for, to receive light, it's these 2 days. So the sages say that at least 30 days before, there's preparation that we must do. And you're thinking to yourself, Elishev is thinking, why is he talking about this? We're 5 months away from this. But I've started to think about it because I said to myself, if these 2 days have the greatest light, it's never too early to prepare my vessel for it, because how I will guarantee myself to receive is what I do with my consciousness and myself right now. And it's about getting excited, about finding the fears inside of ourselves. I had a friend, it was very powerful. I had a friend who once went through AA and shared with me many things and did amends. And I thought it was such a powerful process. I told myself, I want to go to AA. Not because I have I don't have necessarily I'm sure I have many addictions, but I'm not the ideal candidate to go.
Just to vitamins.
Yeah, I'm addicted to vitamins. And I said to myself, but it sounds like it's a transformational process, right? Like anything that is a transformational process, we should look forward to, because that's the building of the vessel. And whether that's AA or Kabbalah or Tony Robbins or anything that is out there that you feel pulled to, there's a transformation there. I think what's unique about Kabbalah and why people are so drawn to it is Kabbalah is the quarterback. It takes all the spiritual modalities and it runs the play. And oftentimes people have come from different spiritual paths. And what they've said about Kabbalah is that it is the universal wisdom that ties it all together. So that's what I think is beautiful about it. But we're fairly agnostic to what other modalities people want to be connected to or dabble into. We do see the value of having Kabbalah at the forefront of it because it puts all the pieces together. It's the best project manager of spirituality when you have Kabbalah on your side.
It's so funny. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm trying to pretend I don't have years of Kabbalah studies behind me. What you say, I can get excited about because I understand the concept of earning and transformation. I also know there's a lot of people out there for whom making a mistake is the end of the world. And I think that we can't really talk about failure if we don't also talk about the concept of mistakes in spirituality. What is a mistake? Right? What is failure? Failure is not, I don't know. I think that it's an important conversation to have because there are some people that they make mistakes and they shake it off and they keep moving. And it's, they may remember it, they grow from it, they learn from it, and they become stronger, right? We love stories about those people, right? They pivot. But there are some people that it seems almost, it would require a lobotomy to get them to let go of the mistakes that they've made in their lives. Why do you think that is? What is it about mistakes that we're so allergic to?
As you say it, it almost seems like this mysterious thing because for each person, it's going to be unique why they're so scared of it and they have an allergic reaction to mistakes. I think what I would do if I'm hearing this podcast is I would say, well, let me go into it. Let me dive deep into it. And either to do it by yourself or with another person that you trust. And I would ask this person, okay, well, if you make a mistake, what's going to happen? How does it make you feel? What are you feeling from this? Visualize it for me. Explain it to me. And I think we need to go deeper. And ultimately, what a person might say is that they feel like they're not enough. And when we feel we're not enough, we become paralyzed because then we don't have the energy and stamina to go out there and give and to do and to create. Because if you don't think you're enough, you think that you have nothing to give in your relationship. If you don't think you're enough, you have nothing to give to your kids. If you don't think you're enough, you have nothing to give in your career. So you're practically dead if you don't think you have enough or you are enough. So I think we're all very scared to think and feel that we're worthless because then we have nothing to give and we can't be co-creators, and that creates the bread of shame. If our job here is to create, we have to feel we have something inside of ourselves to give. So maybe the biggest fear we have is that we don't have value to give. I think that if the whole world turned against someone and said, you're the worst person in the world, I think this person would be depressed, because we value other people's opinion. And it's not so much that we value their opinion, but I think that if we found out that the whole world didn't want to receive from us, we would have no purpose to be here. Right? Imagine if every vessel in the world was closed for business and said, we don't want to receive from you. We don't want to receive your value or your love or your attention. It's very painful.
Well, to me, I think we also have to have a minute or two dedicated to responsibility. I think, you look at a couple that's struggling and they know that they shouldn't be together, but they stay together for the kids, right? You ask those people, why are you staying together? Well, we don't want to damage the kids. We don't want to hurt the kids. We don't want to traumatize the kids. And Kabbalah has this high level perspective on understanding our life's trajectory. We call that tikkun, right? We talk about it in Kabbalah 1 as well. It's basically the understanding that each soul has a perfect plan toward transformation, towards elevation, towards being the best version of ourselves. And our whole life is orchestrated to facilitate that. So if a person needs to go through a heartbreak, for example, and they're in a relationship, and in order for their ultimate growth and for their soulmate to come to them and all the blessings that they want, their heart has to be broken. So if it's not in the relationship they're in right now, it's going to have to be in the one afterwards. Not because someone is assigned to break their heart, but it's through experiencing heartbreak that their true ability to love is going to be revealed. So I think that part of why we're afraid to fail, to make mistakes, even to damage other people, is because we don't have the true understanding of how life works. I'm not powerful enough to interfere with your tikkun. I can't shield you. And maybe that's one of the issues that we have in relationships with our partners, and especially with our children, is we want to protect our loved ones from hurt. Instead of teaching our kid, or instead of protecting our kids from hurt, we should be teaching them how to feel, how to be hurt, how to be resilient when it comes to getting hurt. I don't mean skinning their knees only, right? If you want your child to walk, you've got to let them fall. It's the same thing. If we want the people in our lives that we care about to grow, we've got to be willing to let them stumble. And I see a lot of people are afraid to fail because they don't want to take responsibility for creating damage. And my point is simply that none of us are powerful enough to damage other people's tikkun. Each one of us is the main character in our movie, and that means each one of us is in charge of the plot and the characters and the scenery. And so if I need a particular scene, I will not be able to, there's no end of the earth that I could run to avoid that difficult challenge, because the difficult challenge is for my benefit. And this goes back to what David said in the beginning. It's actually through the failing that we earn light. If you're running from it, that's actually, it's funny because people think failure is painful, but they live painful lives avoiding failure. It's like people, there's a lot of people out there who also wait for the other shoe to drop, like things are good, but something's going to happen soon, right? There's a word for it. Foreboding joy.
Never heard that one.
Something good is happening, and then they go to worst case scenarios. They're holding their breath because how long can it last? Or the Rav used to say, it's too good to be true, right? When things are good, it's just too good to be true. The fact of the matter is that when we're in that state of waiting for the other shoe to drop, we're actually already living in disappointment. Wow. That way, when the disappointment comes, it doesn't have to hurt that much. I was reading about this. It's such a brilliant way of understanding how people can live miserably so long, is because they're really afraid to be disappointed. So they just live with mild disappointment all the time. Nothing surprises them. Nothing depresses them, because they're living in this, I'm not happy anyway, so what's the big deal? I can't be broken because life is pretty miserable anyway.
So what about people who, I think that the majority of people who are confused is because it's good and it's bad. Because if it was just bad, It was just disappointing. Nobody chooses to really live in a fully miserable life. But I think that there are examples of, hey, look, the job is not bad, but it's just not, I'm not feeling good either. What do you do for the people who are in the middle? What do you do about when people are in the middle? Does it mean that they exit? Does it mean that they stay and try to fight for? Should people expect that there should be something more than middle ground? Some people say, hey, it's impossible to be happy all the time. It gets confusing. I think a lot of people have shared this with us. What do you feel?
I feel it is our birthright to be totally fulfilled. That doesn't mean we bounce around ecstatic like we won the lottery every single day. Life does have its ups and downs. And the goal is to experience a higher degree, a greater degree of light in your life consistently. There are ups and downs. I don't want to say that there's no downs. Even the most spiritually minded, connected, elevated person who has, spick and span consciousness still has downs, because as we're saying, that's where the light is. That's how we grow. That's where the moments of feeling good are created by the moments of feeling not good and working through them. I was just listening to a lecture actually by Michael Berg, where he was talking about, there's a section in the Zohar, which is the main text of Kabbalah, that talks about how dark moments are actually locks. And if we don't run from the locks, they become openings for entire chambers of joy and fulfillment and blessings. And the problem is that when we experience darkness, we don't embrace it. We don't recognize this low moment is actually can be the opening for greater blessings. So we avoid it, we push it away, we deny it, we pretend it's okay. And that's what I wanted to answer your question. The people who are in the middle that don't experience great joy, but also don't experience great disappointment, I think are numb to the darkness, so that there isn't that, like you said, I can't take it anymore. If we were in touch with how dissatisfied we were, it would be so painful. We wouldn't be able to handle it. So it's like they raise their tolerance of misery so that they can survive. And to your point, I think a lot of people, and maybe society has trained us to be in this mode of, I'm going to go to school so I can get a good job, so I can have a good retirement plan, so I can retire and live a good life. And, we're always working towards something that we're not experiencing now. We're never truly present. And that buy-in within itself is a mistake, because your only opportunity to reveal light is right now. So I think that for all of us to shift it, it's really about looking at the present moment right now. Not looking toward the future, you said, I think last month in one of the episodes, that there's some people are just bracing themselves for impact, right? Waiting for the worst, expecting that there's going to be a blow up. And many times it doesn't happen. Obviously, sometimes it does, but that's no indication that. I think this is the underlying point, and what we want everybody to go to walk away from this week's episode with is there really isn't anything. There's no such thing as failure. We may assign failure to a particular situation or inadequacy or feeling like we missed the mark. We may say that was a failure. But if you understand that every moment in your life, that idea of tikkun, that it's all set up to get you to your next level and then your next level and then your next level, even the moments that feel like failure are a part of that divine plan. So you're not, even when you think you're failing or when you think you failed, you haven't, unless you decide you have.
So what are practical things that we can take with the energy of this week to move forward? I would, sounds cliche and people have said it before, but you have to do something different than you've ever done before. You have to, if there are things that have been coming to your mind to do or to try, you need to take a step forward towards that. And what a lot of people don't realize is it's not necessarily that thing which will manifest or even manifest the way you want, but it's the step forward that reveals the light and the energy that brings clarity to everything else. You need to have every day in your life aspects where you are moving forward against your comfort zone. That unlocks energy. That energy then permeates in every part of your life. And not necessarily in the energy the area you unlocked it, but it permeates and it feeds other parts of your life, and it brings clarity to other parts of your life. It's hard to assess where the light of the Creator will go once you unlock it. Our job is to unlock as much of this energy as possible. And everything we've learned here on these podcasts, or if you're of the community that's taken Kabbalah 1 or other classes from the Kabbalah Centre, we're always talking about one thing: how to reveal the light of the Creator, the transformation of our negativity, the elevation of our consciousness, which is, as Elisheva said, is our birthright to come to this world and to become perfect vessels for the light of the Creator. Everyone is in the same path. So we have to explore new things to do this week that we've always felt we should do, but we've been holding it back for whatever XYZ reason. At least make a step towards that direction. At least make a phone call to set something up or to have a conversation, to open something, and then trust the light. We think that we got to figure out everything. We just have to take a step and trust the light of the Creator will help us along the way. How else will you know that the light exists if you don't put some trust into the light to see that the light is there for you? We feel the burden of trying to do everything ourselves. And that's just not true. The light of the Creator will help you. Be open to it, trust it, know that it's there, and make a step in that direction.
I love that. And I think that, to David's point, that's one of the reasons we do Kabbalah 1. That's one of the reasons we're starting Kabbalah 1 this week, is to give more of the world's population the tools and the understanding, the knowledge to be flexible, to be open, to be seeking the light in every moment. And we want to make sure that all of our listeners, if you haven't taken this course, that you join it. It starts on Wednesday, June 7th. The link is at weeklyenergyboost.com to sign up. It's pay what you can. So if you're able to afford it, great. Even if you can't, also great. We don't want money to stand in the way of anyone accessing this wisdom. And we will be there holding your hand, giving you these nuggets, these baby steps, not only in a weekly 1-hour class, but also through, you're going to, when you sign up for the course, you get access to the course portal that has additional videos, audio, exercises, assignments, discussion groups. There's a lot of support. So it's not just 1 hour a week. It is as involved as you want it to be. And the more involved you get, the more effective it is. It's how much you experience from taking these classes or from even benefiting from this podcast is really about how much you implement what you get from it. So we want to make sure that everybody, if you haven't done it yet, now's the time. The classes are also recorded. So if you miss any of those live sessions, you have access to the recordings. No matter where you live in the world, it's worth stepping into, even if you don't feel like you want to wake up in the middle of the night and you're on the other side of the world, that's okay too. It's all recorded. When you can join, we'd love it. I don't know that we're going to do another global one in 2023. So it's really worth taking that risk, whatever it takes to jump in. That's actually a great, if you haven't done it.
Say come to the first session. I mean, people feel like they have to commit to something. Commit to nothing. Just take a step forward and hear it. You if anything of what we've taught has resonated with you, you just got to take baby steps forward. And that's how you trick the negativity that way.
Absolutely. So Weekly Energy Boost is also available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can go to weeklyenergyboost.com where you'll find the links to sign up for Kabbalah 1, as well as all the other cool things we think our listeners should know about. You can click the donate button there and support our podcast, as well as continuing to share, rate, like, and review. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.